The text came while I was adjusting my cap and gown in the mirror, trying to get the gold medical school honors cord to lay just right. 4 years of sleepless nights, brutal exams, and clinical rotations that left me questioning my sanity, all leading to this moment. Can't make it. Your brother qualified for regionals. It's just a piece of paper anyway. We'll celebrate later. Dad. I stared at the message until the words blurred. Behind me, my roommate Priya was curling her hair, her parents' voices echoing from our apartment's living room as they fussed over flower arrangements and restaurant reservations. Everything okay? She asked, catching my reflection. My parents aren't coming, I heard myself say, the words sounding foreign. What? Why? My brother has a golf tournament. She set down the curling iron. Kiera, no, they're not seriously skipping your medical school graduation for golf. But they were. Because that's what the Matthews family did. Orbit around Brandon like he was the sun, while I played the role of distant Pluto, frozen and forgotten at the edge of their universe. I didn't cry. 4 years of medical school had trained that weakness out of me. Instead, I deleted the text and finished getting ready. If they thought this was just about a piece of paper, they understood nothing about what I'd survived to earn it. The auditorium was packed with families clutching bouquets and pride. I walked across that stage alone in spirit, my name echoing in a room full of strangers' applause. Dr. Kiera Matthews, first in my family to graduate college, let alone medical school. Valedictorian. Headed to Johns Hopkins for surgical residency. My parents were watching Brandon hit a little white ball into a hole. Priya's family adopted me for the day, insisting I join their celebration dinner. Her mother kept tearing up, saying how proud my parents must be. I smiled and nodded, the lie easier than the truth. They took pictures of me with my diploma, images that would never grace my parents' mantle next to Brandon's golf trophies. That night, I made a decision. If they couldn't prioritize me on the biggest day of my life, I wouldn't prioritize them on theirs. It wasn't revenge, it was reciprocity. Residency swallowed me whole. 100-hour weeks, back-to-back surgeries, learning to function on fragments of sleep and hospital coffee. My parents called occasionally, conversations that always seemed to center on Brandon's latest tournament or new sponsorship deal. Did I mention I was saving lives? Apparently, that ranked below his new golf club endorsement. When are you coming home? Mom would ask, not because she missed me, but because she needed someone to plan Brandon's birthday party or help with some family event where they could parade their successful children. Well, child. I was the absent one, always working, always unavailable. I'm on trauma rotation, I'd explain. I can't just leave. You work too much, she'd sigh. Brandon manages to balance everything. Brandon's idea of balance was choosing between golf and parties. Mine was choosing between saving a car accident victim and eating lunch. We were not the same. 5 years passed in a blur of surgeries, sleepless nights, and gradual specialization. I chose neurosurgery, the hardest, most demanding specialty. If I was going to be forgotten anyway, might as well be forgotten while doing something extraordinary. My fellowship at Johns Hopkins turned into an attending position. Published papers, speaking engagements, a growing reputation as one of the best young neurosurgeons on the East Coast. My parents knew none of this. They'd never asked, and I'd stopped offering information they didn't want. Then came the call that changed everything. I was between surgeries, scarfing down a protein bar, when my phone lit up. Mom. I almost ignored it, probably calling about Brandon's engagement party or some other event I'd be expected to attend despite the 6-hour drive. But something made me answer. Kiera? Her voice was different. Smaller. Scared. It's Dad. He's in the hospital. My heart stopped, then resumed at double speed. What happened? A stroke. They're saying he needs surgery. Brain surgery. The doctor here says it's complicated, that we might need to transfer him to a bigger hospital. Where are you? She named the regional hospital near their house. Decent for basic care, but for a complex neurovascular case, not ideal. I'll make some calls, I said, already mentally reviewing the best neurovascular surgeons within transfer distance. Could you come? Please? We're so scared, and Brandon doesn't understand what the doctors are saying. Of course Brandon was there. Of course they were scared now, when they needed something. I'm in the middle of my shift, Mom. I have surgery scheduled. It's just a job, she cried. Your father might be dying. Just a job. Like my graduation was just a piece of paper. I'll see what I can do, I said and hung up. I stood in the hallway, still in my scrubs from the craniotomy I just finished, and felt the universe laugh at its own cruel joke. 5 years of silence, and now they needed exactly what I trained for. I made the calls, got the scans sent to my office, reviewed them with the detached professionalism that had saved hundreds of lives. Anterior cerebral artery aneurysm, partially ruptured. Complicated but manageable, if you had the right surgeon. I was the right surgeon, one of maybe 3 on the East Coast who could handle this particular complexity with the best odds of full recovery. My phone rang again. This time Brandon. Kiera, thank God. Mom's losing it. Can you get here? Talk to the doctors. None of us understand this stuff. I am a doctor, Brandon. I mean, yeah, but like a real doctor who does this stuff. I laughed, actually laughed. I'm a neurosurgeon. I literally do this stuff. Silence. Wait, what? I thought you were like, in general practice or something. 5 years. 5 years of residency, fellowship, and practice, and my family thought I was a general practitioner. I'm one of the best neurosurgeons at Johns Hopkins, I said slowly. I specialize in exactly what Dad needs. Holy shit, can you fix him? I could. The question was, would I? I'll review his case, I said neutrally. I called my chief, explained the situation. He immediately offered to clear my schedule, have my father transferred to Hopkins, give me the OR. Family comes first, he said. Take all the time you need. Family comes first. Unless it's a golf tournament or an engagement party, or literally any Brandon-related event. I made a decision. Actually, I told my chief, I think I'll refer the case to Dr. Hawthorne. He's excellent with aneurysms. But you're better, he said, confused. This is your father. Exactly why I shouldn't operate. Too emotionally involved, it wouldn't be professional. It was a valid excuse. Surgeons often didn't operate on family, but we both knew I bent that rule before, operating on Priya's mother when she needed emergency surgery. The difference was Priya's mother had held me when I cried after graduation. I texted my mother the referral information. Dr. Hawthorne was good. Not the best, but good. Dad would probably be fine. Probably. The explosion came an hour later. What do you mean you're not coming? Mom screamed through the phone. He's your father. And Brandon's tournament was just golf, I replied calmly. But you both chose that over my medical school graduation. Called it just a piece of paper, remember? That's different. How? How is it different? I needed you then. You chose Brandon. You need me now. I'm choosing my responsibilities here. You're a doctor. You took an oath. I'm referring you to an excellent surgeon. That fulfills my oath. Coming to hold your hand while you worry, that's family. And according to you, family obligations are flexible when something more important comes up. Kiera, please. Did you know I graduated first in my class? That I've published 12 papers on neurovascular surgery? That I was nominated for the Young Surgeon Award last year? Silence. No, I continued, because you never asked. Because Brandon had tournaments and parties in a very important golf career that somehow always trumped your daughter becoming a brain surgeon. We're proud of you. Name one thing I've done in the last 5 years. One achievement, one milestone, one moment of my career. She couldn't. I saved hundreds of lives, I said. Learned to operate on the thing that makes us human. Achieved everything I dreamed of and more. And you missed it all for golf. Your father could die. He won't. Dr. Hawthorne is excellent. Dad will get good care, the same way I got through medical school without you. I hung up and went back to work. Saved 3 lives that day, including a 6-year-old with a tumor everyone said was inoperable. Her parents cried when I told them she'd make a full recovery. They'd been there for every appointment, every scan, every fearful moment. That's what family looked like. The calls and texts came in waves. Brandon, aunts, uncles, cousins, all suddenly aware I existed now that they needed something. The family neurosurgeon who'd been invisible until convenience made me crucial. Dr. Hawthorne performed the surgery 2 days later. I monitored from afar, professional courtesy. The procedure went well, no complications. Dad would recover fully, though rehab would take months. I sent flowers. The card read, "Glad the surgery went well. Dr. Matthews. Not love, Kiera, not your daughter. Just my title and last name. Let them taste their own medicine." Brandon called the next week. Dad's doing better. He can talk again. Keeps asking for you. That's nice. Are you seriously going to hold a grudge forever? It was one graduation. It wasn't one anything, Brandon. It was everything. Every school play, every science fair, every award ceremony. Remember when I won the state biology competition? You had mini golf. Remember when I got into medical school? You had a practice round. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed. Fair would have been parents who showed up. Fair would have been a family that celebrated my achievements even half as much as they celebrated your mediocre golf career. I went pro. And I went to medical school. One of us saves lives. The other plays an expensive hobby. But sure, tell me again how your regional qualification was more important than my doctorate. He hung up. 3 months into Dad's recovery, Mom tried a different approach. A letter, handwritten, delivered to my office. We failed you, it began. At least she led with honesty. She detailed their regrets, their recognition of the imbalance, their desire to make amends. She mentioned Dad crying when he realized I wouldn't be his surgeon, the way he'd whispered my name during recovery, how they'd started looking up my publications and achievements. We see now what we missed, she wrote. You became extraordinary without us. Despite us. We're so proud and so ashamed. It was everything I'd wanted to hear for 20 years, and it was 5 years too late. I wrote back, brief and professional. I appreciate your letter. I'm glad Dad is recovering well. I've built a fulfilling life and career here, surrounded by colleagues and friends who value my contributions. I wish you all the best. No forgiveness. No anger. Just the polite distance you give a stranger who'd once wronged you. They started sending invitations after that. Family dinners, holidays, Brandon's wedding. I declined them all, always with valid excuses. Surgeries, conferences, research. The same kind of important obligations that had kept them from my graduation. Last month, I won the Young Surgeon Award I'd been nominated for. The ceremony was in the same auditorium where I'd graduated medical school, full circle in the best way. My chosen family was there, Priya, my chief, colleagues who'd become siblings, the families of patients whose lives I'd saved. During my acceptance speech, I talked about support systems. How success isn't achieved in isolation, but through the people who show up, who celebrate your victories and comfort your defeats, who see your worth even when you doubt it yourself. To those who weren't there, I concluded, looking directly at the camera broadcasting the ceremony, you missed something special. But to those who were, who are, who continue to be, you are why I stand here today. The video went viral in medical circles. Colleagues from around the country reached out with congratulations. My inbox flooded with opportunities, collaborations, speaking engagements. Buried in the messages was one from my father. A single line. We should have been there. Yes, they should have. But they taught me something valuable with their absence. That family isn't about blood or obligation or showing up only when you need something. It's about choosing each other consistently, especially when it's inconvenient. They chosen Brandon's golf fame over my graduation. I'd chosen my actual responsibilities over their emergency. The only difference was I'd given them excellent medical referrals while they'd given me a text message. Now, sitting in my office overlooking the Baltimore Harbor, surrounded by degrees they never saw me earn and awards they never saw me win, I feel at peace. Not the bitter peace of revenge, but the clean peace of clarity. They need me now. Need my expertise, my connections, my success. The daughter they overlooked became everything they never imagined, without their support or presence. And that's the real triumph. Not that I could withhold my skills when they needed them. Dr. Hawthorne did fine work. But that I'd learned to save myself first, to build a life where their absence was no longer an want but simply a fact. They skipped my graduation for golf. I skipped their crisis for surgery. Somewhere in that exchange, I found my worth had nothing to do with their attendance. The best revenge isn't making them suffer. It's succeeding so thoroughly that their approval becomes irrelevant. It's saving lives while they save par. It's being too busy changing the world to notice they finally noticed you. My pager beeps. Another emergency, another life hanging in the balance. I scrub in, steady hands preparing to do what I do best. In OR3, a team waits for me, my real family, the ones who show up. What do we have? I ask. 43-year-old male, ruptured aneurysm, came in through emergency. Just another case. Just another life to save. Just another day being the doctor my parents never saw me become. And that's more than enough.